Good morning and welcome everyone to the very first of a series of webinars about how we can all learn how to eat well. I'm really delighted to welcome my guests today, Evie Kinghorn and Emma Park from Diabetes UK. And I am your host for today. I'm Stephanie Bedford, a registered nutritionist based here in the UK. And today we're going to talk a little bit about type 2 diabetes prevention. So I'd first like to introduce you to Evie Kinghorn.
Hello everyone, my name's Evie and I work for Diabetes UK in the north of England as the Volunteer Development Officer. And this means I look after and recruit volunteers in the area and support them to support people living with and at risk of diabetes. And I'll hand over to my colleague Emma to introduce herself.
Hi, my name is Emma and I also work like Evie as a volunteer coordinator in the north of England. So all about empowering our volunteers to help take the message of Diabetes UK out across the north of England and promote the messages that we're trying to get out there.
Thank you. So the first thing that we wanted to share with you was why we're so passionate at preventing type 2 diabetes. So I've known Evie and Emma for quite a long time, for many years now, and we have these discussions all the time in the work that we do. But it's not a conversation that often gets out to the general public. So Evie, what for you is really the key message about type 2 prevention?
I think something for me, we'll talk about stats a bit later, but one of the biggest things that I tell people is that you can live with type 2 diabetes for up to 10 years and not know it. So having these messages around type 2 diabetes go out to the public and making people aware of the symptoms is so important because we want people to find out sooner rather than later if they are living with diabetes and prevent it if not. So the messages are so important because it's one of those things that we know is really on the rise. So the more that we can do to spread the message, the better.
And what about you, Emma? What is your big take on preventing type 2 diabetes and helping people lower their risk?
So yeah, I'd absolutely agree with what Evie said. We know that with some cases of type 2 diabetes, some people are more predisposed to developing it, whether it's in the family. We know ethnicity can play a part. But what we also know is that prevention interventions can actually really help people either get kind of put diabetes on hold a little bit, or in the best case scenario, prevent them having it altogether. Because like any long-term condition, the longer you live with it, the more likely you are to develop those complications. So if we can either stop somebody developing it altogether, or we can kind of put it off for as long as possible, it really reduces the impact that those complications can have of somebody. And we know that by having those interventions, you can actually reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes in someone by about 50%. So it's really important that we're getting those messages out there, that people know what they are as well, and know what interventions they can take, and also they can do it in a realistic and manageable way as well, that everyone feels that they can be empowered to do this.
That's great. And I know that Evie, you've got a video that you'd like to share with us that just tells us a little bit more about type 2 diabetes as a condition.
Yeah, I think it's really important that we understand what it is, because lots of people still don't really understand what it is. So this video should give us a little bit more insight, and then we can have a chat afterwards.
About 90% of people with diabetes have type 2 diabetes. If you've got type 2, the insulin your pancreas makes can't work properly, or your pancreas can't make enough insulin. And we all need insulin to live. It does an essential job. It allows the glucose in our blood to enter our cells and fuel our bodies. When you have type 2 diabetes, your body still breaks down carbohydrate from your food and drink and turns it into glucose. The pancreas responds to this by releasing insulin. But because this insulin can't work properly, blood glucose levels keep rising, so more insulin is released. For some people with type 2 diabetes, this can eventually tire the pancreas out, meaning their body makes less and less insulin. This causes even higher blood glucose levels. So what does this mean? Well, as your body can't get enough glucose into your cells, A common symptom of type 2 diabetes is feeling very tired. Other symptoms include needing to wee a lot, feeling extremely thirsty, cuts and grazes healing slowly, and getting infections like thrush. A lot of people don't get any symptoms or they don't notice them. Some people don't think the symptoms are important, so don't ask for help. This means that people can live with type 2 diabetes for up to 10 years before being diagnosed. And over a long period of time, high glucose levels in your blood can seriously damage your heart, your eyes, your feet, and your kidneys. These are known as the complications of diabetes. But with the right treatment and care, the effects of diabetes and high glucose levels can be managed. So if you've got any of these symptoms, see a doctor as soon as possible. There are different ways of treating type 2 diabetes. Some people can manage it by healthier eating, being more active and losing weight. Eventually, most people will need medication to bring their blood glucose down to a safe level. Whatever the treatment, everyone with type 2 diabetes needs to learn how to live with it. We help people do exactly that. Take a look at our website to see how we can help you. Our researchers are also investigating ways to put type 2 diabetes into remission, so people's blood glucose levels return to normal and stay there. And they're finding out more and more about type 2 diabetes, so that we can do more to prevent it, find new ways to treat it, and one day find a cure.
So, a view from a clinical side.
So that was really great, Evie. That really helps paint a clear picture. I was very surprised, actually, in some of the diabetes facts and figures that I saw on a recent post on the Diabetes UK website, that now in the UK, more than 4.9 million people have diabetes, and 13.6 million are at increased risk of type 2 diabetes. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, we know it's such a growing problem, and this is why these prevention messages need to be out there, and people need to understand those 4 T's of diabetes that were mentioned in the video, the symptoms of diabetes. It's really concerning to think of how many people, 13.6 million people now at increased risk. It's scary, and that means that lots of us listening to this talk today will be at increased risk, or our family members and friends. So just having these simple key messages to share will make a big difference.
Yes, because that's something that I come across in the work that I do when I run workshops and masterclasses on healthy living. And I speak to a lot of particularly women of menopausal age, so my age group of ladies. And many don't realise that this is the time of the life where they're at the most increased risk and more likely for the type 2 diabetes diagnosis to show itself. And we often dismiss a lot of the symptoms as part of the menopausal symptoms. And the tiredness you might put down to your thyroid, the weight gain because you're getting older, and people don't really see that the healthy lifestyle changes that can help prevent the onset or delay the onset of type 2 diabetes will also help you through this changing period as a woman. And if you can tune into your body a little better than you have in the past, you might be able to pick up your type 2 a lot earlier. And that's something I'm very keen to educate people on in the workshops and masterclasses that I do.
Yeah, I think it's a really important point you've raised there, is it's not just diabetes that we're trying to prevent. There's other diseases and just general good health. We all want to feel healthy and well as we age, and I think that's really important. Totally agree with the symptoms as well. Lots of people will put this down to just life, being extremely tired. I don't know anyone that I speak to that says, I'm never tired. You know, I've had a great night's sleep. Everyone is tired. Everyone is thirsty, and everyone's saying, you know, I could do with a drink. And these things are so easy to put off as something else. But I think even just one of those symptoms, if you feel that you're extremely tired, you're extremely thirsty, or you're getting up to wee in the night, I think that's really important to just pay attention to.
Yes. And Emma, when we look at sort of educating people about the prevention of type 2 diabetes, it's really about preventing the complications, because they're the conditions that people have to live with once they've been diagnosed. What would you like to share about the complications of diabetes and how people can look after themselves better to prevent some of these?
Yeah, so the complications arise from type 2 diabetes when your blood sugars have been, or your blood glucose level has been really high for a sustained period of time. And this is what leads to these complications. Some of the more common ones people may be aware of is the damage it can do to your kidneys. One of the kind of scarier complications is with your kidneys, because a lot of people end up on dialysis or even maybe needing kidney transplants. So it's really important that your kidney health is kept in check. So if you're living with diabetes, having your kidneys checked once a year is really important. And again, trying to maintain your blood glucose levels can go a long way into helping with your kidney health as well. Other complications people will be aware of is amputations. So this can happen with toes, or in the worst case scenario, lower limbs completely as well. Again, this comes from that prolonged period of having a high blood glucose levels. And what this does eventually is it damages the nerves in your feet and your extremities. When you then cannot feel things, which sounds lovely, not been standing on a Lego, for example, and not feeling it, but actually it can be quite dangerous, because if you've cut yourself, if you get a foot ulcer and you're not aware of it, then this can lead to infections. And then this is where we can see amputations occurring. So again, it's really important that if you live with diabetes, you're checking your own feet regularly, you go into your podiatry appointments, but again, keeping your general health in well is a good way to produce this, because again, we're keeping if you keep your blood sugar levels as consistent as possible, we understand there's going to be spikes and dips. I mean, no one's asking for perfection, but the more that we can maintain that general level of blood glucose, then we're less likely to have some of these complications. And another really common one I wanted to mention as well is retinopathy, and that's when it starts to affect your eyes. So when you've had high blood sugar levels for a long period of time, this can start to damage your retinas, and what happens is little bleeds occur in your eye, which when you're seeing appear as like black spots in your vision. And if left untreated, this can actually go on to develop into sight loss completely. So again, as you can see, the underlying theme that's coming through from all these complications is when you've had that high blood sugar level for a long period of time, which really underlines the importance of making those little lifestyle changes. And one of the things about diabetes is actually these small changes can actually go a really long way. So even just increasing your activity a little bit, all of this can have a really big impact on your blood glucose levels and your diabetes management as well.
Exactly. And that's a really important message, that in teaching people how to eat well, and when they join, even if it's just a short masterclass, is that it's not about taking away people's enjoyment of food. It's actually completely the opposite. This is about giving people the opportunity to really enjoy their food and to understand the impact of different food choices on their overall health. So the reason we want to manage those glucose levels are really important for a multitude of health conditions, and that when someone's been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, it's not a catastrophic lifestyle change, because actually everyone should eat healthily all the time. The problem, once you have been diagnosed with type 2, is that if you deviate from the healthy pattern, your body gets caught out really quickly and your health deteriorates really quickly. And that's the important message to get across, that it's not your lifestyle change because you have type 2 diabetes means you have to eat well in the same way as everybody else. And because Other people are eating a lot of cakes or a lot of foods that cause a sugar spike, like soft drinks and foods on the go. It's a lifestyle that's not good for everybody, and that everybody should look at addressing some of their choices so that their body gets a chance to have a more even balance when it comes to the carbohydrates that go into their body. The really interesting thing is all the issues around feet and eyes, things again that we put down to getting older. And especially ladies, they'll think, oh, that's menopausal because I suddenly need to wear reading glasses. And as we knew before this video, I had 2 pairs on my head. We forget things too at this age. So reading glasses, but getting your eyes checked by the optician can also be a good way of picking up any issues, any other health issues at the same time. And again, with your feet, we all think, oh, my shoes are uncomfortable or my feet are a bit funny because I'm at that bunion age. But actually, foot care health again can pick up a lot of the type 2 symptoms much earlier on than people might have otherwise have picked them up. So that's really key. So what practical tips, Evie, have you got for getting lifestyle on track without having to become a gym bunny or spend your life just eating salads, both of which are extreme and totally unnecessary?
And don't sound appealing whatsoever.
No.
I think there's lots that we can do without depressing ourselves, thinking we need to take up a completely different diet or go to the gym every single day. And the first thing I like to talk to people about is moving more. So we're not talking about becoming an Olympic runner. We're not talking about, doing anything really totally different to what you normally do. But it's picking those things that you enjoy doing when you're moving. So whether that's gardening, and I know, Steph, you like your gardening, don't you?
I do.
And it's actually surprisingly very physical. So if gardening's your thing, focus on that and trying to do that a little bit more than what you would normally do. Whether it's, if you might even like clothes shopping, you think, you know what, I'm just going to park a bit further away. I'm going to walk further today. I'm not going to get the bus. I'm going to walk to the shops. It might even be walking the dog. Something that we all do. Anyone that has a dog naturally walks your dog, but walk them further. Say, instead of round the block, 10 minutes because it's raining, why don't I set aside half an hour or an hour today to just have that nice walk? And it will help your mental health as well as your physical health, without a doubt. That goes for all moving. So I think it's not always taking up a new exercise or running. Everyone seems to think it means going to the gym or running. It's not at all. It's just picking something that you enjoy doing, whatever that might be. Sometimes cleaning the house, I am absolutely exhausted after I've gone to town on the house. Hoovering is, surprisingly physical. So if cleaning's your thing and you like to do that, it's not everyone's. But maybe just have an afternoon where you do that. Like I say, it's not for everyone, but if cleaning's for you, that is something that's really physical. So it's just thinking outside the box and picking something you enjoy, because you're more likely to do it if you enjoy it. And that's always my mantra. So moving more is really important and will help reduce your risk. And if you are living with diabetes already, it's going to really increase the time that you're in range with your blood sugars or your blood glucose levels. So it's beneficial for everyone. It's a win-win.
Oh, that's really excellent tips. And what about you, Emma? Have you got something that you'd like to add?
Yeah, just in terms of the exercise, I think a lot of people, if you've got mobility issues, people worry, oh, the exercise is ruled out for me then. But actually, these days, there's lots of different options. There's lots of exercises that you can do that are chair-based exercises. Diabetes UK, if you look on our website, we've got a Move More programme that is all around chair-based exercises. But also, if you go on YouTube, you can search in your local area. Lots of people are aware now that exercise should be inclusive for everybody. So they are adapting their methods of finding new things like chair Tai Chi, chair boxercise, all these things. So previously, people who thought that exercise was kind of a closed door for them now are realizing that there's fun ways to do it. And I think what Evie said is just so important. Find something that you enjoy, that you're going to look forward to rather than put off, and have manageable goals as well. Because if you set yourself something like, oh, I need to lose X amount of weight by this date, and it's not reasonable, you're more likely it's not going to be a lifelong change. It's going to become a yo-yo thing where if you then don't reach that goal, you kind of put yourself down and get defeated by it. But if you actually start by setting small goals and achieve them, then you're going to get buoyed on by your achievement as well. So it's about being realistic as well, not being too hard on yourself, and having fun. I think that's the most important thing, having fun.
Absolutely. And it is all about having fun and being creative and thinking out of the box, having that can-do attitude, and learning from others a little bit and doing it together in a group. And that's what I really enjoy when I'm teaching a workshop, is the ideas that bounce off each other. And just simple things like, I know people really love to bake, but baking a cake doesn't often add value to your overall health. But instead of baking a cake, you can bake bread. It's still baking, but you can be really creative. And I remember a while back we had some fun. I had some posts that I put into your Facebook page that we had, where we made focaccia bread and then decorated it with all different herbs and vegetables, and that was still creative and fun, but without the added sugars of icing and cake decorating. And there are all sorts of things. We can do that with salads, we can do that with vegetables, and we can make food fun for everyone. We don't just have to make food fun for toddlers. It's fun for everybody. Food is fun, food is good. Without food, we'd all be dead. So we have to eat.
Kneading bread is a great way to get some anger out as well, isn't it? If you've had a rough day, taking it out on some dough is a really good.
Oh yes. Good old knead.
Really physical kneading bread.
So it's really important, and I just really enjoy when I'm sharing my communication in being fun and looking at different ways to inspire people. And as you both said, you know, it's about small steps that are sustainable. So really look at what you do every day and think, how can I just tweak it? You don't have to cut things out, but it can be as simple as having one less biscuit with a cup of tea. If you normally have 3, have 2. Think like you do if you're looking after children. Make a chart. Charts aren't only for children, for grown-ups too. It is a really simple way to just track when you've had an achievement, and celebrate your goals. Put your alarm on your phone. Everyone's got a smartphone now, and make it go 30 minutes before you would normally eat, so that you have time to prepare your food. And then just set that time aside, as that is your cooking time. You're standing up, you're moving your body, you've got to clean down the kitchen a little bit. It's all activities along with preparing your food. And if we get a little bit more organized in how we meal prep during the week, cooking a meal isn't a major task. We all know that kids aren't getting the best cookery education in school at the moment. So this is the time to say, kids, no, don't empty the dishwasher, chop a vegetable. Actually, that is a better life skill. And to just make these little tweaks so that you get a bit of fun out of cooking and life, and have an accountability partner. Even have a friend that you both cook together with one day a week. Instead of meeting up and going for a coffee and a cake, meet up to chop and cook vegetables, things like that, and then share the food. And you cook together, and one day they take the food home and half of it, and then you prepare it theirs, and you take the food home, half of it for your freezer, and then they're your ready meals up and coming. Little simple things just to make it fun, because life is about being fun.
I love that. And I think it is about being organized as well. and planning the meals that you're going to have in the week. I think that reduces the risk of you going, I don't know what we've got. I've got food, but I don't really know how to make a meal of it. Let's just get a takeaway. So I think it's being organized and taking pride in the food that you make. Feeding other people and being excited about the food makes a big difference, because a lot of the time it's like you say, as adults we lose that fun in food and it's all becomes boring to us. It's just, it's another meal we've got to make. But if we've planned it and got excited for it and we take that time to prep, I think we can enjoy it much more. And that's being healthy too, not just the unhealthy meals.
Absolutely. And that's where I really enjoy sharing the sort of the courses and the workshops that I do, because that's what I give people, is that structure. So we're used to getting that plan from the gym, but we need that plan back in our lifestyle. The old-fashioned skills that people used to get taught in domestic science, but they're really important life skills that have got a bit lost, and to get people back on track and into that routine. And it's amazing how quickly you can just make those little adaptations and be a bit organized, write a few lists and get that structure back. And it's rewarding. It actually gives you more time. It actually reduces stress because you're not flapping and panicking, and you're being healthy. So it ticks boxes all, on so many fronts. And that's really, really key. And like we've always said, it's all about giving people better quality of life for as long as possible.
Really helpful that if somebody works shifts as well, isn't it? Stuff that prepping in advance, because we know that especially these days a lot of people work shifts, or the 0-hour contracts where work's unpredictable. If people work in the emergency services, shifts can overrun. So having that time where you have got your day off to do that meal prep can actually bear wonders later on in the week. If work has ran late, if you've already got everything, you know what, like you said, if you know what you're having, if you've already pre-chopped it when you're off, it can remove that added stress and that added exhaustion on an already quite long day, and still continue those patterns of having those like colourful plate of food of different variety of our vegetables. A really good tip that I was told when I started working here that's really stuck with me is when you're dishing up, put your vegetables on first, because as humans we eat with our eyes, and if you fill up your plate with more veg, you're less likely to then put on those that we should have in more moderation, so like your carbohydrates and meat. So fill it up first as much as you can, and that's something I've always stuck by now, and it does work. It sounds really silly, but I do find that if I've done a roast, I always plate up the carrots first and the parsnips and the broccoli, and then I do find myself there's less room on my plate then for the roast potatoes. I still have some and enjoy them, but not as many because I've got more carrots.
Absolutely. And it's little shifts like that if you do that at every meal across the day, the transformation is phenomenal, and people don't really notice, and it hasn't been a drastic lifestyle change. I don't really like the term lifestyle change because that sounds too overwhelming. It's just getting back on track and taking back control of the decision making around food and around your life, and getting in that regular pattern. Your sleep and eat pattern is one of the most critical aspects of your overall health and well-being, for your mental health and for your physical health. And it really helps structure getting that back on track, and it is really important. So it's been really interesting chatting about all the different things that we can do to help make our risk of developing type 2 diabetes reduced, and helping us, if we have got onset, for making our journey with type 2 diabetes more manageable. And I've loved the way we've been able to tie it in with the sort of age groups that are most typical, which are people hitting middle age. And particularly in women, I think women often look after everybody else and forget to look after themselves. And it's a time that we need to take a little bit of the focus back on us as women as we age. And there are lots of things that we can do to help ourselves going forward. How can people help themselves in terms of diabetes help, ladies?
There's prevention programs on the NHS, or also programs that you can go on if you already live with diabetes. So make sure you look those up in your area. They're really helpful, but a lot of people don't know that they exist. So they're called different names in different areas, but most likely for type 2 is a program called Desmond. Like I said, there may be slightly different names in different areas, but just Google NHS type 2 diabetes education. Or if you're struggling, get in touch with us as an organisation, and one of our staff members can point you in the right direction. And I think they're really good, and you get that peer support as well, of being alongside other people who are at a similar stage in their journey as you. And then there's obviously the prevention programme as well. So if you've been identified as being on the borderline, a lot of people know that as pre-diabetes, then there's programmes at the NHS that we fully support around preventing yourself from developing type 2. So that'd be a good starting point, but I'd suggest certainly having a look at them.
That's really great. And so I know that you're always keen to have more volunteers and to fundraise, because as a charity, that is obviously your income source, and that's really important. And I think we've seen how many people type 2 diabetes in particular does affect in the country, and how by managing that risk, we can really help relieve some of the burden on the NHS by being able to have fewer complications, or by making those complications delaying their onset and having them later in life rather than earlier in life. And for anyone who's interested in learning more about how food can improve their everyday eating habits, how it can help tie in with managing menopause, and how really type 2 diabetes onset and menopause are at the same time of life, but are two very distinct conditions. But by helping one, you actually also help the other. Then reach out to me at How to Eat Well. I have my social channels and the howtoeatwell.com website, where we also offer workshops, masterclasses, and lots of other resources to help you on your health journey. And I always love helping people lead longer, healthier, happier lives, because that's what we ultimately all want to have. So thank you very much, Evie and Emma, for joining me today. It's been really good catching up with you and having you share your knowledge. And it's been really fun doing it this way on Zoom. I hope we can get to do it again in the future.
We would love that. Thanks so much for inviting us, Steph.
Thank you.
Bye.